Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here. I'm Tori.
I'm Tracy.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives.
Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you from believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time today. Turn up the volume, and let's go.
Hey, housewives, welcome back today. We are excited to talk to you about being mamas. One of our favorite pride and joys, being mamas. Okay, so what we're going to talk about real briefly is that being a mom makes you question everything while also feeling like you know it all. Is that how you feel as a mama?
Oh, yeah, that you know everything and nothing at all at the same time.
Right. So it's extremely confusing.
Right. I don't understand it.
Nope. But we're killing it.
Yeah. But if you ask my 8-year-old, she knows everything. So we could just ask parenting advice from her.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
I bet we could ask a couple of your kids too who feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Especially the teenagers. So with talking about mamas and all these feelings of being questioning everything and knowing it all, we know that with our current culture that we live in, we have resources and help for every angle of being a mama, but we also have advice and criticism on everything.
Everything.
Yeah, which brings in a whole lot of mama guilt and some mama shaming. And that is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do,
we are going to highlight another review. And this one is from Ren Javo. From the beginning, I have felt as if I was sitting in the closet with you and talking with friends. You guys truly complement each other, and it is so refreshing to hear and truly see two women who are true warriors. You are independent women who are also wives, mothers, daughters, and friends who want to make a positive impact on others, and you are doing exactly that. Thank you for putting yourselves out there and being real, not perfect. I look forward to listening to many, many more of your episodes. Well, thank you so much for the kind words. We so appreciate it. And if you want your review highlighted on the next podcast, please be sure to leave one so we can have one to read.
Absolutely. And how perfect was that? Like being real and not perfect. We're going to share some of those stories today.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Well, let's dive in to motherhood. I think the fun part that we have to share is how we each became mamas. Mm-hmm. Share a little personal story for those that are just maybe catching this episode. So I am a mama of 4 kiddos, now currently ranging from 13 to 7, but that was 4 kids in 6 years. So that was hard.
A lot.
That was insane. So I feel like I have some stories to tell.
I have half that. I agree.
Yeah, we have some stories to tell, but I know that there's so many more to come. What about you, Mama?
I have got a 8-year-old and a 7-year-old. They're 17 months apart. As I like to say, it's like having twins, but not getting the credit.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So,
and they're back to back in school? How that goes?
So that comes with a whole new set of complications of when we get invited to birthday parties. Sister knows who all the friends of other sister are. And why didn't I get an invite? And we're working on all the fun of that.
Yeah. It's so crazy how all of our kids were only 2 years apart, but how we spread in school is insane. Like it's absolutely crazy that because of how the birthdays fall.
Oh, yeah.
We have like years between. We have 3 years between, and then they're back to back, and then 3 years between. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So it makes that like going through school and that education part like seem way longer.
Hey, but it breaks up the college payment plan, doesn't it?
That is true. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah. No, we're going to tell them not to go.
Yeah, who knows where we'll be by then, right?
I was going to say, don't bother. 4 years, nah.
Yeah. Well, we want to talk about doubting your own motherhood intuition. When we started talking about, okay, where does this guilt and shame come in? When does it start? Well, it starts from the very beginning, the beginning of becoming moms, when you think, okay, you have that 9-month pregnancy and you just have all this time to read and ask questions and get advice. And then the baby's born and you're like, it's all going to kick in, but then it doesn't. And then there's that worry and that fear and how am I going to do this? And am I going to do it right?
Am I doing enough?
Yes. And I definitely, my hardest transition into motherhood was definitely the first, like just those firsts of everything were so hard.
I would second that for myself as well, because I don't have a background with kids.
Yeah.
I did not babysit. I never babysat in high school and middle school. That was not my thing. I did not enjoy it. Whatever reason, I don't like other people's children.
Except for mine, you love them.
Yes, I love you. But the first diaper I ever changed was my oldest. I didn't hold a newborn baby until I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And so it was a whole new adventure for trying to figure out stuff. And you're right. There's so much information out there. You know, you get the books, you're asking the friends, what do I need? What do I don't need? You're Googling late at night when you can't sleep and get comfortable. You're doing all of that. And you can find an answer for anything, but you could also find another answer and it's the same thing, but different.
Right. Yeah. When you're talking, you made me correct myself that the guilt of what do I need? And if I'm going to do everything actually starts when the baby's in the womb, because when you start to ask those questions on Facebook, you know, you see the moms like, what should I put in my hospital bag? Or what do I need on the registry? And then you get all the advice. You're like, well, if I don't have that, am I going to be okay? Is the baby going to be okay if they don't have that? You know, Sophia, the giraffe,
or
Chewy.
How about, or the pacifier.
Oh,
that's a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you use a pacifier? Some parents don't want to use a pacifier. Fine. Okay. Or then when your kid is 3 and still has a pacifier, then you get the looks of like,
or I see that 3-year-old still in a diaper. They didn't do that potty training early enough.
Yeah. And then that's kind of like, okay, am I going to ruin my children's teeth forever? And they're going to look like a horse. Like, what am I doing? All because she wanted a pacifier
and I just wanted sleep
and I just can't.
Well, I know you all are kind of laughing or nodding or going, yes, if only my child stopped sucking their thumb before 7 years old. You know, you're either relating or you have that mom guilt a little bit too. So we're not wanting to impress the mom guilt on you. We want to laugh with you and encourage you. We want to tell our first like real mom guilt story so that you can kind of see when we really felt it and how, you know, we all have these stories where it's a stepping stone of like growth and where you're going to go from there. And my first mom guilt was failing at breastfeeding. Now, I say that because I didn't fail at breastfeeding, but that is how I felt at the time. Being a first-time mom, I had postpartum hypothyroidism, which caused me to not produce my lactating hormone and my other hormones, like all the things just were not balancing. I was all over the place and I didn't know it at the time. Obviously, through some research and some things that we did afterwards, that's how it was identified. I could not produce and I was supplementing, and that guilt of supplementing, not being able to fully breastfeed and it not being natural, like I struggled. And I was the girl who babysat and knew all the things from 12 years old and on. And I knew that I was just going to be this great mom until I became a mom. And then I'm like, wow, this is really hard. Everything about it. And that mom guilt kicked in when I went to the doctor. I was really struggling with nursing and with depression. And she was like, well, you do have postpartum depression. And some people will think this is absolute crazy advice, but she told me to quit cold turkey if I didn't want to go on, depression medicine. And I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm doing. And I quit cold turkey and went through during that whole season of my postpartum depression. It was really hard. And I kept a lot of it to myself because shame. I felt shame for not being good enough to breastfeed, for having postpartum depression, having all these feelings. I didn't know how to handle it. Now I talk about it freely and I want other moms to know that that's actually more normal than you think. But that was my first experience. I quit cold turkey. And when I let go, I felt so much better. I actually started healing mentally and physically.
That's incredible because so much is put on whether you do formula or whether you're nursing. I mean, and you don't realize it until you're in the midst of it. And I totally agree that women are built to, if you don't nurse your baby naturally, oh my gosh, then you are,
Right.
how could you? When that's, you do what's best for you and the baby's health, period.
Mhm.
We have to assume that as individuals, as moms, we are making the best decision for ourselves and for our children with the information that we currently know.
And with your spouse, with your husband.
Right.
Like
but we have to assume that of others too, versus, and we'll get into that, we're shaming other women.
Right.
But that's a lot of where it comes in. We're thinking, well, I know better. How do they not?
Yeah.
But I think for me, mine kind of goes off of my first round of mom guilt was really when I was pregnant with my second. My oldest was 7 months at the time. And it was, I was anxious. I didn't know what was going on. I was fearful of going into this, having the second baby because I wasn't even figuring out the first one. And so when I went to the doctor, they talked about, she decided that it was a good idea to put me on an antidepressant and to deal with that because I was still postpartum, and I was pregnant. And she said, if you're stressed, it's going to stress the baby. And so we need to calm you down. And so that's what we did. But that's a whole other round of what are you putting in your body? And, and if there had been anything wrong with my second when she was born, how much guilt would have that? Because you put that on you. Like, what did I do? How could I? It must have been the lunch meat I ate or the sushi or that one glass of wine in the 9th trimester. And just to get myself through the day. But, it's unreal, the stories we tell ourselves and to create that guilt.
We've all got a story. I mean, you guys can sit there and say, yep, I had that one time, or I'm still experiencing it. I mean, we know mom guilt still occurs. We had some things that we were going to just run through that we know affect so many moms. And one of them is, that for me, having 4 kids, am I spending enough time with each kid? Like, are they getting enough quality time? Are they getting that mom time? Like, I have a kid or 2 out of the 4 that just requires more, whether it's the help in the school or the more emotional support. There's just some things that you go through that maybe a child is needing more than the other. And I am a strong believer in just that each kid was created and designed by God for their birth order, for who they are, for how they adapt in the family, so I try to look at that of going, okay, well, some just need more than others.
Yes. And what God knew, God created you to be the perfect parent for your child and your child to be exactly what you needed, right? Exactly. Because let's be honest, our children refine us as well, right? Yes. And they like to, just as much as our spouse is meant to refine us and pull out some of the stuff that God is trying to let us let go of. And that's something that's very comforting thought. It wasn't by accident that I've had this child, especially if your kid challenges you, where we might be in a stage of everything's an argument. Like I said, I know better.
Yeah.
Right.
Or sleep.
Or
eating.
Or all the things, right?
Just eat one more bite. Just eat one more bite.
Exactly. And so every season there's something to go through with that.
Yeah. So some of the other mom guilts that we have actually talked about when this came about was with our grade school kids, that my kid isn't reading at grade level. You see the videos or the stories and that comparison steps in real quick of my kid's the same age and they're not reading at that same level. Uh-oh, I must be doing something wrong or I didn't do enough or
what's the commercial? It immediately made me think of the commercial that you see on all the baby channels that are, my kid was reading by 1 year. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes. You know what somebody out there knows.
Worked for me.
Right. But that one, but there's one for babies that's like where they're reading. Well, my child is, he's reading a 4th grade level in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. I mean, some kids are gifted. That's lovely.
Yes.
But no mom guilt if your child is needing a little extra help.
Right.
That's just fine.
Well, and we were talking too about how we support our kids differently, right? Okay. So I have got a funny story about that. So my girls are in gymnastics and last year was the first year that they got to compete because of COVID. And so their coaches decided it would be a good idea to like a couple weeks before their first official one to do like a little mock meet at their practice gym. And so my youngest had all practice, the whole warm up, since she had been practicing, kept telling her coach that she couldn't clap for her. And so the coach told me, she goes, your daughter won't let me clap for her or cheer for her or say anything for her. And I was like, okay, all right, let me talk to her about it. So her father and I just she's like, no cheering, no clapping. I'm not going to compete. What? And we had to have this conversation with her, and we came to a compromise that no one would clap or cheer for her or say her name while she was competing. And she goes, so you're going to tell everybody, all the other parents, not to clap? And I said, I will hold up a sign that says, please do not clap for my daughter. And sure enough, that's exactly what I did. And you won't believe some of the looks I got from other parents.
Oh, yeah.
They were looking at me like a death glare of like, what kind of mother says don't clap for my child? It was as if she wasn't doing good enough. Like, do not approve of this type of work ethic.
Amazing that one, you had the conversation, and two, you held up the sign. I remember when you did that, and I thought that is really awesome.
It was just, by the end of the meet, all the other the parents finally, because they were kind of like whispering amongst themselves, and I would hear them and I'd be like, it's because my daughter doesn't like clapping and she doesn't like the attention, and so we're just not clapping. And so they're like, oh,
yourself.
I did have to explain myself, but it wasn't until I explained myself that all the other parents kind of let me off the hook. So it was kind of
I'm the opposite. I'm kind of a natural born cheerleader. Goes back to my roots in my cheerleading days. And my children know that mom and dad will be the loudest two people at their sporting events. And it's okay, because our kids know if we're cheering for them, they're listening for us. We're encouraging. I mean, we've had those moments where maybe we weren't, and we've got the talk or the email from the coach, but we correct ourselves. We're not perfect, but I like to cheer for my kids.
Yeah. And other kids know that you're cheering for them.
Yes, absolutely. I actually had one of my daughter's friends on our soccer team be like, oh yeah, you're the cheering mom. I always hear when you say my name. I'm like, oh, they recognize, they get encouragement. So I'm not just cheering on my kids, I'm cheering on other kids too.
Yeah. And I think kids like that, as long as you're not screaming profanities and,
I'm not cheering for your child.
Right. Yeah. You can't cheer for mine.
All right. Well, there's a couple other mom guilt things that we'll run through just because we want to make you laugh. Okay. So how many times have you been in McDonald's drive-thru and thought to yourself, oh, I shouldn't be getting this. Oh, this is not what so-and-so's mom is feeding her kids tonight before they go to their event. And you sit there and, oh, mom guilt. I shouldn't be doing this. Well, we're here to tell you, it doesn't matter if you cook at home or you're feeding them in the drive-thrus. Mom, you're a good mom.
Absolutely. I did that. I fed my kids on a drive-thru on the way to school this morning.
Yeah, so it happens. I mean, shoot, we all know sometimes we have groceries, sometimes we don't.
Yes, right. Like, let's go on to how we shouldn't put ourselves in a box.
Right.
I was going through Pinterest the other day, and I was just searching motherhood, kind of getting ideas and trying to, market research per se. And I kept seeing these 3 ways to be a better mom today, the 10 types of moms. And if you want to have your children do this, then read this article. And I was like, that's crazy.
It's insane how much is out there. And I know the intention behind it is to encourage moms, whatever season you're in, new mom, toddler mom, elementary mom, middle-aged mom, teen mom, season mom, mentor mom.
Yeah.
There's a lot of seasons for them. And I know that people are seeking advice, and it's common. I mean, we've done it, and that's why we created the podcast. We wanted to talk into it because we know that women are feeling empty. They are feeling not good enough. It's that comparison game. Like you said, you were on Pinterest. What about the Pinterest moms that show up at the schools? We don't get to see it as visually because we're not in schools anymore, in the classrooms doing,
my school is.
Well, right.
We'll have a private school versus public school podcast in no time.
Fire and ice right there. But that is the point.
On a side note, I was only allowed in a Bible study if I promised not to brag about our school. That was the only way that they would let me in.
Like, we love you, but
you're not allowed to talk about your school.
We only live 2 miles apart, and our schools are only a half mile, maybe a mile apart. But
it's so funny. But
yes, but not putting yourself in a box of what type of mom you are, or comparing yourself to a Pinterest mom. Some of the things that we have dealt with over the last few years is being transitioning from being a stay-at-home mom to a work-at-home mom. Like, that's different for us. And now we run 2 businesses, and we are still stay-at-home moms, and we're working at home moms. And in all of this, we got to talking about it. You guys, there's a label for every freaking mom. You want to be a homeschool mom.
Yeah.
You want to be a public school mom. You want to be private school mom.
A foster mom, an adoptive mom, a working mom. And what if we need to take those adjectives before mom are all circumstances? Take that adjective away. You're a mom. You're mom. That's it. It doesn't matter. And that's what we all have in common. That's what we are created to be, is mom. It doesn't matter what the adjective is in front of it.
Motherhood has just been defined as that lately. I mean, you see it. It's the hashtags. I mean, we all use it. And it is something that we're defining what type of mom we are so that we feel good being that mom. Like, I'm in this group of moms, or I'm in that group of moms. Ladies, if you're a mama, whether it's adoptive, foster, natural, however you have become a mom, you are a mom. God gifted you a child to love and to take care of. And we've lost that in culture and in social media and everything that we're experiencing. We've lost that just true feeling and contentment of, I'm a good mom. We question everything, and we don't need to. If it's what's best for you and your spouse, you decide in your family what is best for your kids, then it's great. You're a good mom.
Yes. And you do the best with what you know. That gives us no reason to judge, to shame another mom. And there's a lot going on in the world right now.
It is very heavy with guilt and shame right now.
Yes. About whether you choose to do this with your child or do that with your child. And there are 2 camps. Yeah. And what we're forgetting is that we're still moms. We still are choosing what we feel is the best thing for our children, period.
Yeah, you don't know what is going on with those children. Like, you don't know what's going on with every child is completely different in a family. We know that. You know, I'm very vocal and open about my daughter's anxiety struggle and what we've been through over the last 2 to 3 years. And I do that because that's the type of person I am. 1, I process. 2, I want others to feel like they're not alone. And 3, it has found me such an incredible community for anxiety in children that has helped me help my child. Right. But I have never once, well, maybe in the beginning when I was so lost, because I'm a fixer, I was so lost, I didn't know how to help her. I felt like, well, I caused this. I'm not a good mom. I didn't do something right. Well, that's not the case at all. And I would say that now that I've walked that path, I understand it a little bit better. But I was a good mom when she was triggered and got anxiety. And I'm a good mom now when we've walked through it. You know, and I think a lot of people label themselves as a not good mom or a good mom based on a circumstance of something that you're walking through with a specific child.
Right. And a lot of that stuff is out of our control, you know, and we cannot choose to say I'm not enough, because that is just stripping your joy. And your kid's going to pick up on that you're feeling inadequate. Mm-hmm. And kids are smart, very, very smart. They pick up on the emotions. They pick up on the body language. They don't always know exactly what it means at the time, but they pick it up. So when we're down on ourselves and not feeling strong in our identity as their mom and as a parental figure, like, if you're giving them the security of, I've got you. I have got you. I am your mom. I am one of your parents, and we are making decisions based for you, not against you. This is what we're doing. The kid's going to feel that and feel secure and feel that love from you.
Yeah. And that identity in the family of, we're together. We're in this together.
Right. So we've kind of talked about not being in a box, but let's talk about how we treat other moms and doing that That's shaming, because it is so common. It is so easy to make a comment on somebody's Instagram post or their Instagram story. You've had a couple of mom shames on those.
Sure have.
Uh-huh.
Christian mamas. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're still out there. They still have.
It does not matter, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah. And I think we wanted to bring it up because mom shaming is a real deal. And I'm seeing it more and more. People are hiding behind that post or that phone or whatever you're using to make comments and judgments. And from a Christian perspective, I made that joke a little bit, but really there are some people that can come to you with truth and love. Like you and I can say whatever we want to each other because we know that it's coming from the right place of, hey, I'm here for you. I want to help you. I've noticed something, vice versa. Right.
Absolutely.
And you could do that to me too. And we do. And that's actually how this all started, was in all of our conversations in our sauna about being a mom and struggling. And you pick me up when I'm down and vice versa.
Right.
But if you're using it to lift yourself up by telling someone something that they're doing wrong, that's mom shaming.
Yes. And just because another mom does it differently than you doesn't make it wrong.
Exactly.
Doesn't make it wrong. It's just not your choice. You didn't choose to do it that way. So be it. And unless somebody is physically hurting their child, you do not need to get in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about abuse physically hurting their child, and you can say, if you have to say it to yourself and then don't press send.
Right. We both have walked through so much mom shaming, especially in these last few years. And more recently, you've seen it. And that's where the mom guilt comes in, is you see the posts, you see the announcements, you see the way people are living differently than what you're thinking and believing right now. And that causes so much question of, am I doing this right? Am I good enough? I don't care what side of the political aisle you sit on. I don't care what side of the culture that we are walking through and living through right now. Whatever you are doing for you and your family and your kids is right for you. You're a good mom. That's the story that needs to be told way more than, well, I'm doing this and you're doing that. And
we can't just stay in our own lane.
Yeah. And we have to, because you guys, mamas, you are in control of your actions for your children and how you respond to if they get in trouble at school, if they need help at school, if they've, had a fight themselves with another child. Like, you handle it with your kids. And if obviously parents need to get involved, then parent to parent, you can have a conversation. But there's so much of that. Well, I don't want you to upset so-and-so's parents, or I don't want you to do this because that's going to, cause strife in that area. Well, if it does, you're doing what's best for your family.
We're worried to offend other parents.
Yeah.
In reaction to help doing what we feel is best for our children, which, because we're worrying about being offended, then we feel the guilt if we do offend them. And then we feel the shame. And then it's just this never ending cycle.
Yeah.
And to clarify, we are talking about healthy parent and children relationships. Okay. This is not talking about the outliers and the exceptions. We're not talking about if somebody is a victim of abuse, if those kind of situations are going on. That is not what we're discussing here. We're also not talking about things that are wrong that children should not be exposed to. That's completely different.
Yeah.
We are talking to the majority where we truly believe that you as a mom are doing what you feel is right for you and your kids.
Yep.
And I should not have any judgment towards that. I will not have to, when I stand in front of the pearly gates, I am not going to account for what your kid did. I'm going to account for what my kids have done.
Exactly.
And so that is where I get my instruction from my Heavenly Father. And when He says, did you raise them up in the way they should go? I can say yes. I can say no. I can say, well,
I tried.
I really, really tried. Have you met her?
The question really will be, did you learn anything?
Right. Oh, but that's the simple truth. The simple truth is I'm not going to have to take account for any of the actions that your child has done or any of the decisions of that. The only decisions I need to be accountable for are mine and my children's. And that's it. And I think that if we accepted that and didn't feel the need to tell other moms that they're doing a crappy job,
Yep.
we would be happier.
Absolutely. If the comparison went away, if we just stopped feeling guilty for all the things and we just started living our lives, loving our kids, and we would just feel so much better. We'd have so much more joy in our motherhood and our parenting.
Yeah. Because you would
so
be
much more peace.
You wouldn't be worrying about stuff.
Yep. You are exactly the kind of mom your kids need. And your kids are exactly what you need. So we're going to wrap this up by saying, Tori, you're a good mom.
Tracy, you're a good mom.
Hey, guess what, housewives? Each one of you
are good moms. We are looking forward to talking to you guys next week. And in the meantime, have a great day.
Be a great mom.
Be the good mom you are.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, but living in who you were made to be today. Join our online community on Facebook. Find our link in the show notes.
Be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, freely, and be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.
The question really will be, did you learn anything?
Right. Oh, I'm like, please, I've learned that I don't want children.
We'll delete that part.
Yeah.